Shalom, family. My name is Eliab Ben Israel, and I have quite a few lessons that I want to share, but I'm going to share with one today as it was on my heart, placed on my heart to do so. This lesson here, or this dissertation here is titled, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places, the Victims. Practicing and being obedient to Yahweh's laws shows us how to live. They are his instructions to us so that we can live longer, productive lives when we do his will. Someone once asked me, how do I know that God exists? And I told that person that asked me, I said that in the days of Moses, when Yahweh gave Moses the 613 laws and commandments to give to the children of Israel, specifically at this point, the dietary laws, Yahweh told Moshe what animals were clean to eat and unclean for consumption. Now, mind you, there were no microscopes back then to look at an animal's blood to view the microorganisms that would cause harm to those that would eat unclean animals. Death and diseases that are associated with the consumption and death and diseases that are associated with the consumption of these animals. So, how can one, way back when, tell us what was clean and unclean for our consumption if he himself was not the maker of them all? Studies in science today testifies and gives credence to the words of Yahweh spoken thousands of years ago to our forefathers. Just as science today attests to Yahweh's word as it pertains to the laws of fornication and adultery, and the reason why women should have only one sex partner, husband, because this causes infections and diseases and brings death to all those that participate knowingly and unknowingly to the fourth generations. Truth without a sufficient amount of truth, without a sufficient amount of truth, body synergism will be put off balance, diminishing sooner or later the development of a strong immune system, resulting in the proliferation of disease. This poisoning results when some form of the unnatural or ungodly enters the bloodstream. No sickness or disease develops through osmosis by chance. There has to be a cause. When the organism is affected by poison, some form of damage has to show up in tissue of the organ itself. If the poisons are not eliminated from the body, we find ourselves fighting an almost hopeless war on misery and disease. Truth is the source of all life. Whether you want to accept it or not, the world's masses are all imprisoned by a lie. The simple equation then is that if truth frees, then a lie confines. Death, as defined by Satan, is the expiration of the body, but death, as defined by Yahweh, is the expiration of the mind. Truth is that death is absolute once wickedness, evil, unrighteousness, or an ungodly state of mind dominates the body. Just as the effects of sperm from multiple sex partners takes its toll on the woman's body and organs that are purposed to bring forth life, only to cause her sickness or death, or to pass sickness and death on to her children she bears, or the next man or men she has sex with, up to the fourth generation. As it is written, a man leaves his family and marries a woman. When they join together, they become one. This is true and seen in the physical realm as to how a woman automatically takes on the attributes of her man's talk, mannerisms, and etc. And the same holds true on the science side of her body as to the things that are taking place beneath the surface of her skin inside her body. That which you can't see without a microscope. In the physical, that which can be seen with the naked eyes, by nature, the male dominates and brings the woman into submission of his will when he humbles her, has sex with her. As well, on the science side, microscopic, the woman's internal is coming into submission after being dominated by the man's sperm. Man's sperm, when released into the womb, is automatically programmed to seek and overcome. Those that do not make it inside the egg that it was seeking then acts like a virus and begins to burrow into the woman's bloodstream to start the takeover of her DNA. Being that the sperm is foreign to the woman's body, her white blood cells and antibodies are called to come fight the sperm. But being that the man is dominant, it takes over and brings the woman's white blood cells into submission and reprograms her DNA to match his. She is now totally one with her man. Truly. So now, every time he ejaculates into her, the white blood cells recognize and doesn't fight, for it is futile to fight against oneself. So, if that woman has sex with another man, and that other man ejaculates, his sperm is made to do the same thing. So now, when the white blood cells detect the foreign sperm, it begins to fight against the new man's sperm. The new sperm is trying to override the first man's DNA, but the old DNA is not going for it. Just like in the natural, when men fight and kill each other when one tries to take the other's woman. So now, this new war causes bacteria, germs, and sickness, which causes a mutation of cells that should not even exist, cohabitating and releasing toxins into the body that begin to destroy from the inside the internal organs with cysts, cancers, deterioration of brain cells, the mind, blindness, i.e., women problems. As it is written, two men cannot rule the same house, just as two men cannot share the same woman because of jealousy. Because jealousy leads to death. So too is the same that has more than one sex partner. She brings death to herself and others by spreading these mutations. The aforementioned examples was first between a man and a virgin woman, and the second was when that woman now has two sex partners. This situation worsens when a woman has had a multitude of sex partners. All of those mutations of different men's sperm that tried to override the first man's DNA, white blood cells, has now caused chaos and confusion within her body and her mind because she was made to only be with one man. When she was a virgin, she was the pride of her father, the strength of her father. She was molded in and was identified as such. But when the virgin marries, had sex, she is no longer of her father, but has been and being humbled by her husband to become the image and likeness of her own man. But when the woman has many sexual partners, she no longer can be identified due to the many spirits of men that has inhabited her, and now possesses her mind, body, and soul, literally. And now all of the different bacteria that has been released into her body from the toxins created by the sperm reprogrammed DNA wars has become infectious or cancerous to the point that even a surgical procedure will not remove the impurities from her body. They will only move and spread to other parts of the body. Surgery only treats the effect, not the cause. Medication only treats the effect, not the cause. If a person does not change their behavior, the problems only worsen, and she passes the STDs and HPVs along to her partners and unborn children, and they theirs, thereby causing chaos and confusion to run rampant. The confusion in her mind and spirit is because the person she thinks she is not. As it is written, you are a slave to whom you serve. You cannot serve two masters. The entities that control the host is the one that prevaileth. So it is definitely true that when you sleep with a woman, you sleep with everyone she's ever slept with. When women take on all different attributes and spirits of all the different men she's been with, she begins to think that she needs no man because she is full of men, if that makes sense to you. And relationship after relationship, the woman brings added stress and strain to the point she doesn't even know why she does the stuff she does. But she continues to do it because she's justified in her mind that this is what she is supposed to do in a relationship with arguing and insecurities. And the poor unsuspecting schmuck that she's with can't understand what the hell is her problem and why she's always starting arguments and acting crazy. But it's not her that he's arguing with. It's not her that's giving him the problems. It's all those men that have formed an alliance together with inside of her to keep the next man from taking over. Unconsciously, she has forged an alliance with them as well by staying faithful to them and holding on to them. Therefore, she will not be able to fully allow herself to commit to you and fully love and to devote herself to you because they would not allow her to. She has a slick mouth and talks crazy because they make her do that. They have her mind for real. That's why she can't truly love you and give you the love that you need, because she doesn't love herself anymore, because she doesn't know who she is anymore. You will never figure her out unless she truly reveals his story. And chances are she probably will not bear his story unless you are the truth of what she truly desires to be. Then she'll change because truth demands change. The truth of who she is and have become is going to challenge what she truly wants to be. And it is only this revelation of truth and her desire for change that she will forge an alliance with you, and she will stand back to back with you to fight toe to toe against them so that she can attain her freedom to love you. Hallelujah. Shalom, family, and all others that have may view this. A lot of things are not of my opinion. A lot of these things are tested and are true. If you do your research and you find these things. A lot of things that were spoken on, like some of the things that go on in our own communities, although these are some of the things that happen or take place because of the science side and because of the breaking of Yah's laws, and that's why a lot of these things and habits and behaviors happen. But when you also factor in the plight of the so-called African in this land, when you have racist institutions that are designed to do certain things and lessen the state and the plight of the so-called black man, and when the role reversals have changed and the number that they have done on our own black women, that the black women use a certain kind of standard, or the women use a white standard to judge her black man, a lot of these things become more, they get more significant. They become more significant in how to deal with. So with all the brainwashing and over the course of time and how things have taken place with the so-called black family or the African in this land family structure, and how the white racist establishment has set about to destroy the black family unit. We have a whole lot more time trying to, a lot our situations are worsened because our sickness now, make no mistake about it, most of us are mentally ill and sick because of the atrocities that have been placed upon us. You understand what I'm saying? And the only way that our sickness can be healed is that we go back to our rightful, the one that he who fashioned us and he that made us, that knows exactly what we need, and that is Yah himself. He gave us his laws, and which tells us how to live. And if we abide by these laws, then we can remove these illnesses from us. Because now that our spirit has become right with our mindset, and our mindset is in tune with our spirit. Now we become in tune with the universe, and then what we put out is what we get back in. So these things get reversed. But these are not of my own words. These are the things that are spoken of in the scriptures. If you turn aside from your wicked ways and you do righteousness, then righteousness will come unto you. This is telling you exactly how to live. It's not telling, and it's telling you how to die. It's telling you how you can die, and it's telling you how to live. It's not giving you a choice. He's telling you to choose life. Life is right there. We choose death on our own. And so just because you might eat a pork chop sandwich or because you're hungry and you don't die instantaneously, but the effects thereof from that one pork chop sandwich, and plus, especially if you continue to eat these things, then somewhere along the line, as science has proven that these things, like when you go to the doctor, the first thing they're going to ask you is about your dietary intake. And what because they want to know exactly, trying to get to the problem. And then if you that had like problems of diabetes and heart failure and all these other type of things, they're going to tell you to change your diet. They're going to tell you now you can't eat certain foods anymore. Why? Because at some point, because you've been doing it for years, these things have added up and it contributes to your illness and your condition. So just because you don't die instantaneously from biting or eating it one time, somewhere down the line, and then you can pass these things and these mutations on to your offspring, all the way up to the fourth generation. Yes, you can. It's there written in the scriptures. Long before there was a microscope that scientists could ever use, these things were spoken of. So if we continue to disobey and not do what's and don't give us that. Well, my daddy been, my granddaddy ate and pork all his life and they did nothing to him. But there are certain things that are still going on. How many women in your family has breast cancer? How many men in your family are dying of colon diseases? Why is it that the black man in America, a lot of things happens to us? And we just rightly just think that it's okay to do, and we try to justify why we eat or why we continue to want to do what we want to do, instead of doing what the Creator said do. And there is no word where in the scriptures where Yahweh said, okay, I'm gonna change up, because those laws are too hard for y'all to abide by, or the way to live is too hard to abide by. So I'm gonna stop that and give y'all something different. And now they'll make no difference what you eat. You know what I'm saying? As long as you just pray over it, then and then it'll all be good. That's one of the greatest, most asinine, lamest excuses that a lot of us use, and we use it because it helps us, because it justifies what we want to do anyway, other than what the Creator says. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like when General Motors, when Cadillac makes their Cadillacs, and they say on the fuselage, it says premium unleaded fuel only. Now you can get away with using 87. Yeah, you can get away with using it. But eventually something is going to break down in that vehicle from you using that 87. And then when one thing start breaking, then it's going to start affecting other things inside that body, and you're not going to get the longevity out of your product that you're supposed to. Why? Because you cut corners and you did other things. If Cadillac made it, so they know exactly what it is. If Yahweh made us and He told us how to live, what makes you? Why we don't want to ride in our own Cadillac? We got a Cadillac, so put 93 off in it. Hallelujah.